imagine the visions that are dancing through their heads. They're so very eager for the big day to arrive. And guess what? So are we. Whether you have a lot or just a little, the buzzword for the season is gratitude. So, what do you have to be thankful for? Think on that as we go through the pages of Jamaica Magazine. I'm Audrey, and I'll also have special security tips just for you as you head out to the malls for Grand Market tonight. Also in the half hour, working to help our fishermen and our farmers. The details of a disaster plan that's bound to make a difference. The Christmas Eve edition of Jamaica Magazine gets on the way right now, so you watch while I watch them. Okay guys, what are we up to?
Take a trip down to my island, cause there's nothing like Christmas in my island. I've been around the world and traveled across the globe, but I'm always heading right back home for Christmas. Christmas in the island breeze or up a pong pong.
Good day, I'm Andrea Chisholm and this is your JIS News for Wednesday, December 24. Over 1,200 jobs are expected to be created in the next 15 to 18 months when full operations resume at the Alpart Bauxite Alumina plant. The plant, which is located in Nain St. Elizabeth, is set to resume operations next month, while the refinery will officially reopen in December 2016. Portfolio Minister Philip Paulwell said under the arrangement with the UC Rosal, the operators of Alpart, 2 million tons of raw bauxite worth about $60 million would be exported.
The new deal represents an expression of the government's commitment to ensure that the full potential of the bauxite alumina industry is realized in the shortest possible time.
UC Rosal will also spend about $400 million to modernize Alpart by developing port facilities and establishing an ethane cogeneration facility by 2016. Minister Paulwell had given UC Rosal until December 31 to resume operations or risk losing its mining rights. As the government moves to boost local crop production, the Agriculture Ministry is projecting that no table Irish potatoes will be imported during 2015. Agriculture Minister Derek Kelly, who made the announcement, said this was in line with a decision not to import table Irish potatoes during this year. Indications are that over 11 million kilograms of table Irish potatoes will be locally produced in 2014, surpassing last year's total crop production.
We have great expectations for the Irish potato as a particular product that we want to cut the importation of totally in the future, and to put ourselves in a position whereby we'll be able to develop to the stage where we can look for some export.
For the 2014-2015 crop year, the Agriculture Ministry set a production target of 15 million kilograms of table Irish potato. Minister Kelly was speaking recently during a tour of potato growing areas in Manchester. Finance Minister Dr. Peter Phillips is of the view that the improved relationship between the United States and Cuba will provide Jamaica with new markets for goods and services. While conceding there's need for an assessment, Dr. Phillips also believes that Jamaica's tourism sector will not be severely affected.
I believe, that, quite frankly, that the quality of our tourism product that we have pioneered here in Jamaica can stand competition with all comers. We must see Cuba's opening as an opportunity rather than something to be feared.
Meanwhile, with Jamaica set to record 1% growth for 2014, the Finance Minister is again calling on the private sector to invest more in the country and further expand the economy.
It will require, in some cases, a new way of doing things, being innovative, exploring new markets, focusing on products that are higher up the value chain and products that are particularly directed for export markets.
President of the Inter-American Development Bank IDB, Luis Alberto Moreno, supported the Finance Minister and called for public-private partnerships to be strengthened.
Business people can turn their backs and say, you know, government should do this or that or the other. And equally, governments can say business should do this or that or the other. That conversation doesn't lead you anywhere. That conversation only loses time. And we are in a world where time matters.
The IDB President and the Finance Minister were speaking last week at a luncheon hosted by the private sector organization of Jamaica. Come next year, the National Youth Service NYS will be launching a national public education campaign to increase awareness about persons with disabilities. Chairperson of the NYS, Maureen Weber, said the campaign was necessary to address the challenges faced by youth in the disabled community.
One challenge they face is they're excluded, they're ridiculed, people don't understand them, they're not involved in things. So if I would have put a media campaign around this.
Ms. Weber, who was addressing a recent JIS think tank, said the campaign would be done in partnership with the Edna Manley College of the Visual and Performing Arts. It will seek to foster the integration of persons with and without disabilities. And finally, the Jamaica Constabulary Force JCF is urging citizens to be extremely careful as they go about their business during the festive season. During this period, there is usually an increase in robberies, road crashes, and fraudulent activities. Senior Superintendent at the Community Safety and Security Branch, Karina Powell-Hood, suggests some precautionary measures.
Some of the measures that we recommend is for persons who know that they're doing a lot of shopping when they're moving around, not to take large sums of cash with you. Use your debit or credit cards. It's easier to replace your cards than to get back the cash if it is lost or stolen.
SSP Powell-Hood, who was addressing a recent JIS think tank session, also encouraged persons to travel in groups, avoid wearing excessive jewelry, and be mindful of their surroundings at all times. And that's it for JIS News today. I'm Andrea Chisholm. Thank you for watching.
Not there. That's good. We're making homemade Christmas cards. It's fun, and it's certainly less expensive than the store-bought kind. Speaking of things you can buy in a store, lots of people are going to be out shopping tonight. But you must be careful. Not everybody is out there who wishes you Christmas cheer. So, watch your back.
It's a recurring situation, especially at this time of the year, the Christmas season.
Steal! Steal! How much we steal, lady? Thief! 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 Right.
Okay, so maybe things wouldn't exactly play out like either of those situations, but the issue is real enough, and that's why the police have increased the number of patrols on the nation's streets.
We even empty out the police academy to get the new recruits out there, so we have high visibility, what we call public reassurance policing, that the people walk about, they can see police officers.
They have one strategic objective:
to serve, protect, and reassure.
Statistics indicate that during the holiday period, there's a significant increase in major crimes. The police, with their limited resources, are using every bit of muscle energy to combat the problem.
They're interacting in a non-confrontational situation, and people look around and say, yeah, I feel safe, the cops are about here. It's good for crime prevention, because the bad guys also see the police officer walking around.
But you also have a role to play. A headache is not needed when contemplating how to stay safe at your home. There is something called crime prevention through environmental design. Big term, but it's simple. You can begin by trimming excess bushes, installing security lights, or installing a security system from a reputable company. While you're at it, ask yourself this question.
If I lost my keys, will I be able to get back into my home? Aha! I can just open the back window. That means an intruder can also get in. I've got to fix that.
On top of that, you need to ensure that you lock all windows, doors, and grills before you leave home. Ask a trusted neighbor to keep an eye on your home whenever you are out, but make sure you don't publicize your plans too much. Tell only those who need to know.
You know, I need to stop hiding my keys under the mat and under the shell at my doorway. Nobody does that anymore. Wow, I've got a lot of catching up to do.
Likewise, make sure you have your keys ready as you approach your home. This way, you don't have to fumble in bags or pockets in search of them.
If you want a free crime prevention survey, police officers in the community safety branches throughout the country will be happy to come along, look at your home and tell you what crime prevention measures you might want to take to improve your security.
Believe it or not, there is also theft in the workplace, so you have to take precautions there too. Don't leave your handbags on desks with large sums of money exposed. Always put valuables in your designated drawer and keep it locked. Never assume a stranger wandering through a building is a member of staff.
Hi.
Challenge them with a simple,
"May I help you?" Okay, so let's go here.
Also, never allow anyone to remove office equipment without approval. As for the disclosure of information, regardless of how important the request seems, do not give any confidential information without receiving approval. That is definitely a no-no.
Do not be complacent.
You make it easier for pickpockets to sneak up and snatch any item that is catchy to the eye. And if you are being followed, cross the street to the other side. If the follower crosses as well, cross again. Remember though, walk facing the oncoming traffic. And if you're out shopping, keep your money in a secure location. Ladies, guard your handbags, and men, secure your wallets. Point of information to the men, your back pocket is not the safest place for your wallet. When using the ATM, don't exit with the money in hand. Put it in a safe place. The money in your hand is like honey to a nearby bee or thief. What about if you're in a bus? That's a no-no. You might very well wake up and realize that your valuable possessions have disappeared, almost like a magic trick. As for the drivers,
use the main roads. Don't use little shortcuts through areas that may be a bit dodgy or you don't know very well. Okay?
You're also reminded to lock your car doors after entering the vehicle and keep valuables out of the public's view. So the aim is to keep safe during the holiday season. Be alert, be in the know.
Many of us will be heading home for the holidays today, which means there will be extra traffic on the roads. And extra traffic means greater need for safety. So I'm begging all the users, take time and take care. The traffic police now share some important safety tips. Listen up.
The distractions that we are finding out are drivers utilizing their cell device or iPod or any electronic device whilst they are driving. That is a no-no. And so we want to encourage our motorists and for them to be reminded that once the engine of the vehicle is engaged, once you're on the street, it is a full-time job that requires your complete focus and attention. We realize that female drivers have their own sets of distractions, one of which is whilst driving, they are putting on makeup or doing other things. We're encouraging our pedestrians to continue to be safe, continue to be vigilant, continue to be alert as you use the streets. Do not step onto the pedestrian crossing until all vehicle has come to a complete stop. Walk facing the oncoming traffic. Do not attempt to cross the road behind or in front of a large vehicle. We are finding out that pedestrians are also crossing the road and are engaged using their electronic device. When you have on that earpiece, you're not able to hear the sound of an oncoming vehicle. The police will be out in our numbers because we are there to reassure and to provide that presence. And we want you, the commuting public, to partner with us as we seek to make safe our roadways for Christmas 2014.
This is one time we don't want you to laugh.
Staying safe on the road is a serious thing.
Mr. Taxi driver and bus driver, take time, man. People, so one-stop driver and come off.
Cyclists, motorcyclists, pedestrian, all road users using the head.
Only if you use cell phone and drive. No, man.
Idiot thing that.
Road safety is no laughing matter.
Because we want you to be around
and laughing with us for a long time.
A message from the National Road Safety Council and National Health Fund.
Let me see that, sweetie. Ah, nice. So, what's your favorite food at Christmas?
I would like fried chicken and chips.
What's your favorite food to eat at Christmas?
Ackee and saltfish and breadfruit.
All right, that is cool. Like Dominic, most of us love Jamaican food, and our Christmas just wouldn't be the same if we didn't have some grown provisions like yam, Irish. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. While you get ready to cook up your feast tomorrow, take a look at this feature which helps our farmers and our fisher folk to be more disaster resilient.
When a disaster strikes, persons lose valued possessions and some their livelihood. Imagine a farmer toiling from dusk till dawn to reap a harvest, and in an instant, it's gone. The Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM, heard the cries of the men and women who work in the field and came up with a project that has increased their resilience. The name? The Building Disaster Resilient Rural Communities and Livelihood BDRRCL project. Many farmers and fisherfolk in communities across Jamaica lack the know-how to mitigate the impacts of climate change. Proof can be found in the statistics. When Hurricane Ivan struck in 2004, the agriculture sector sustained 8.5 billion Jamaican dollars in damage, representing 24% of the total cost of impact for the Category 3 hurricane that passed just south of the island. It was estimated that a total of 11,100 hectares of agricultural producing land were affected, and about 111,000 farmers and fisherfolk sustained damage and losses. However, since its inception in 2013, the BDRRCL project has helped to increase their level of preparedness.
The BDRRCL really is an extension of what we call our BDRC, Building Disaster Resilient Communities. For some time now, the ODPEM has embarked on a program to build the resilience of communities. Understandably, when there's a disaster, those most affected are at the community level. So we have been, for the past little over 20 years, been working on a disaster resilient program for communities. The communities are really important because if our communities are affected, it's going to affect what happens at the parish level as well, and therefore it is really critical that as an organization we seek to strengthen, we seek to build resilience of our communities, and invariably we would have had parishes that are better prepared for disasters.
The one-year project saw over 150 farmers and fisherfolk in the parishes of Manchester, St. Elizabeth and Westmoreland being taught basic disaster management techniques.
Now, these 5 communities over the years have been impacted by natural hazards, and it's as a result of that we felt it prudent to focus on them.
The training, which received financial support from the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, was implemented by the Washington-based Agricultural Cooperative Development International Volunteers in Overseas Cooperative Assistance, ACDI, VOCA.
With the funding that we've gotten from the USAID, ACDI, VOCO, we've been able to mobilize on-the-ground support from our various ministries, departments and agencies. Critical to this process is the Social Development Commission, the Jamaica Red Cross, and equally important, the local authorities.
It is so important for us to consider disaster and climate risks whenever we are doing community development work. So yes, we're focusing on the livelihoods, but more importantly, we want to ensure that as we protect our livelihoods, we are making sure that we are doing it in such a way that we can have a sustainable long-term investment. And so it is therefore a pleasure, and has been a pleasure for us to partner with ODPEM and the other persons that have been working with you in this community.
With the foundation laid, training the eager farmers and fisherfolk was made much simpler. The first step was to place them in groups, Community Disaster Risk Management Groups, or CDRMGs.
The purpose of the CDRM group is to ensure that at the community level we have response capacity in place, because you realize that in any emergency situation it is usually the persons who are living there, they are the ones who are always first to respond. It takes a while for the fire department, it takes a while for the local authority or even at the national level for us to get there.
The hard-working group under the Basic Disaster Management Suite of training were exposed to key concepts that would make them disaster ready. They were made aware of the vulnerable areas in their community, taken through the process of preparing for, responding to, and recovering from the impact of hurricanes, taught how to safeguard their homes and other structures against the likely effects from major earthquakes, equipped with best practices that can be employed to reduce the impact of flooding of agricultural areas, shown how to prepare farmlands to counter landslides, and given information on climate change and its impact.
It has been a very good experience, one that has opened my mind to a number of areas that I have never explored before. It is one that has caused me to think twice about everyday things that individuals do that negatively impact the community, and also things that we as a community need to do in order to better fit ourselves for disaster.
We're more prepared in case there's a disaster. We know who to turn to, and we're prepared. We are trying to be a self-dependent community, and that's why we are doing these trainings.
It has done a lot, knowing that the community was educated about disasters and is now better prepared to deal with disasters and even put in mitigations for that we are able to manage these disasters when they strike.
I believe that all of us are ready and willing to respond to any situation that will ever occur in our community.
The training ODPEM has provided has given the participants a number of options in terms of how they could better serve their communities. Let's take a look at how these communities stand to benefit.
With all the information garnered, the groups were ready to create the change they needed in their communities. But then a core group within each batch was taken to another level in disaster preparedness. They were exposed to specialized training to boost the responder capabilities of each community. They were taught how to conduct post-impact damage assessment of buildings that may have been affected by a disaster, trained to handle the social and psychological issues that may be present in a shelter, given in-depth training in standard first aid with adult CPR, engaged in writing a community disaster risk management plan for their community, and the participants who showed high levels of competency were trained as trainers. But there's more.
The community members received specialized training in areas such as initial damage assessment, shelter management, and emergency radio communication. Now, these areas are very important. Emergency radio telecommunications training will ensure that community members are able to communicate with us during an emergency situation, especially in instances when the cell phone service is down and the landline services are down. They receive training in IDA, which is also important because after an emergency situation, when the national responders are not able to go out and to see the level of damage that was done, these initial damage assessment persons will be able to give us an idea of what kind of damage was done so that we'll be able to assist them after an emergency as soon as possible.
Simulation exercises were done to see how advanced the participants were. The men and women treated each exercise like a real-life event.
One very important part of this project, which we are very happy about, was that the communities will benefit from micro-mitigation projects or livelihood projects. So far we have the community of Asia and Pisgah, which will be benefiting from apiculture. And we have the community of Pedro Plains, which will, the roof of their shelter, which is the Pedro Plains Primary School, the roof will be fixed. So it's very important that persons are able to benefit in a tangible way from projects such as these.
ODPEM held closing ceremonies in the various communities at the end of the project to congratulate the participants on their commitment to being proactive and to hand over well-needed disaster-related equipment.
I want to give ODPEM a big thanks in what they do.
They see us through with this program and we are grateful to them. Thank you very much, ODPEM.
Though the Building Disaster Resilient Rural Communities and Livelihood Project is intended for the farming and fishing community, schools, businesses and communities island-wide have also benefited from the various interventions.
The ODPEM has endorsed the view of ensuring that persons are prepared. So on an ongoing basis, we have a number of programs aimed at building this level of readiness. We talk about ensuring that your homes and your surroundings are ready for a disaster, and for persons to recognize that they have a responsibility. You may want to know where your shelters are. It's a good time for persons to always figure out where is my parish disaster coordinator as part of your readiness mechanism. Knowing before, as there's an old adage, to be forearmed is to be forewarned. So we really want Jamaicans to arm themselves with the knowledge so that when there's a threat, they're better prepared.
For more information on the work of the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, visit their website, odpem.org.jm, or call them at 906-9674-5 or 754-9077. Disasters do happen. Be prepared.
Everybody come, pretty little baby, bring them gifts for the pretty little baby. Everybody come, pretty little baby.
We've finished with our little project, and just in the nick of time, our show has come to an end, but you can watch it again on our YouTube channel. Share some feedback with us on Twitter or our Facebook pages, and you could send us an email. On behalf of the entire JIS family, Dominic, Zelia, and yours truly, happy holidays, Jamaica.
Let's have a Jamaican Christmas or a pom-pom when we come.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.
If you never been